Yo, what up gamers, I'm Dark, and today we're going to be playing Sivir, and I'm going to be showing you exactly how you play Sivir. Sivir can be played as a crit or lethality, which both have their different uses, but in this particular guide, we'll be focusing on the lethality build. If you don't know me, I'm a Master Tier ADC main from the US server, and I've been maining ADC since Season 5. If you enjoyed this video, then make sure to subscribe for more guides and the best educational ADC content on YouTube. Alright gamers, so as we get into lane, I'm going to cover the runes real quick. We're going to be running Airy with the Mana Flow Band, Transcendence, Gathering Storm, with Presence of Mind, and Coup de Grace. This is basically just something I'm testing. It's 100% viable on Sivir, but whether it's the best page is debatable. Two other viable keystones that you can use on Sivir are Dark Harvest and First Strike. And the core build that we're going to be going for is going to be Mara Mana into the Duskblade into Cyrilda's Grudge. When you're playing Lethality Sivir, the focus of your game is going to be all around your Q. It's going to be a huge source of poke, but also a huge source of your DPS, since your auto attacks won't do as much damage as they would with a crit build. Lethality Sivir synergizes best with mage supports and with lockdown supports. Mage supports help her easily establish control over the lane, and make her have an easy time poking the enemies without any minions getting in the way, and making the enemies unable to poke back against her as they won't have a wave to trade with. Meanwhile, Sivir, with her long range, won't have any trouble poking them. Whereas lockdown supports enable Sivir to be able to hit a free Q anytime they hit their CC. Even something like a Thresh Hook, which doesn't necessarily make an opponent stuck in place, will still make it easy to hit both rounds of Sivir's Q, enabling her to deal a lot of damage to the enemy bot lane without any counterplay. Sivir Z is a spell shield, which gives back mana when it blocks an ability, so you want to try and use it as much as possible in lane, without leaving yourself at risk of being engaged on by the enemies. So if you're laning against a Nautilus, for example, you would want to make sure that you always have your spell shield up, and don't just waste it on stuff like walking into Jinx W's on purpose just to get mana back, but it really depends on whether like the Nautilus actually would have an opportunity to engage on you. This is very situational, but in a matchup like this where I'm against Jinx or Renata, there's very little that I have to worry about, so anytime Jinx throws out a W or anything else, I can just try and walk into it to spell shield it for mana. And you can see here with the help of Karma, we just constantly have an easy time pushing in the enemies under turret here. And as Jinx is trying to last it under turret here, it's a very easy job for me to just poke at them away with the Q, especially once Jinx walks up to go for a last hit. You can very easily aim that, and in order to not get hit, Jinx would have to give up the last hit. We're not even 4 minutes into this game, and Jinx is already having to be forced to go back into base, and so we're just going to shove out this wave and make her miss a lot of farm in the turret here, as the turret takes down the entire wave. It's also good back timing for me, because I can get 2 longswords here, so I don't need to stay for anything else. I can just shove that one wave, and then there's nothing else that I need. We don't rank up W at level 2 or even at level 3 because it just doesn't really give enough damage to be worth the mana cost. You definitely don't want to use it just to get the bounces off to harass the enemies. The most that it's worth for is an auto attack reset, and quite simply we just wouldn't be making enough use out of it to bother ranking that up. Instead, at level 2 we level up the spell shield in order to back up our mana usage through the Q spam. And then at level 3 we put another point in Q to make sure that Q spam is actually dealing as much damage as possible. We're arriving to lane here into an enemy slow push, so what we want to do is just play as safe as possible, especially given the Karma isn't on the lane, and we need to just wait for this wave to crash into us. So as Renata walks up here, I can just trade with her a little bit because she doesn't have Jinx with her. And I'm pretty confident that I could just spell shield anything that would put me in danger, so as you can see I just get off a really good trade against Renata there, but I wouldn't go for that if Jinx were also in position to trade, because my objective is mainly to avoid a lot of damage, but Renata on her own was not much of a threat, so just able to punish her a little bit there. As the slow push crashes, we also just have to concede a little bit of pressure here, so if the enemies want to maybe go for this plating, there's not too much that I can do to stop them, because I need to just farm this wave, and if I try and trade against them right now, I'm going to be taking a lot of minion damage, so my objective is mainly just to clear the wave as fast as I can, and for that I'll be using Q to help me, and if I hit Jinx as well, then that's nice. But the main objective is clearing the wave, while avoiding trading directly. When your Q is returning to you, you can make it curve slightly in the direction that you want by moving in that direction. So as the enemies juke to the side to try and avoid the second hit, you can sometimes make them get hit by the second one anyway, just by juking in the direction that they're running. When you're chasing low HP enemies such as this Renata, you want to not lead with the Q and just chase them with auto attacks as much as you can before finishing them off with the Q if necessary. If you don't need to cast Q, then you don't need to use it. But a lot of the time, people will just throw out the Q and potentially it misses or the enemy flashes it, and then they can no longer like hit anything to the enemy that's now out of range thanks to the flash. What you want to do instead is you want to chase them down with your auto attacks. And then if they flash, that's when you use your Q to try and hit them through their flash distance. A lot of the time this will give you a kill without having to match their flash with your own. Sivir W empowers her next 3 auto attacks to bounce onto nearby targets indefinitely. These bounces can also crit, which makes it a very strong ability on crit Sivir, but not so much on Lethality Sivir, as the base damage at rank 1 just isn't all that high. It can be good for wave clear, but won't deal too much damage to champions. As mentioned before, the main use you'll want for it is just to reset your auto attack to deal just a little bit more DPS to a champion during fights. Because it's not a very influential spell on Lethality Sivir, we're going to be maxing it 3rd and maxing E 2nd instead. You can max W 2nd if you prefer it. It will deal more damage to champions and it'll help you with wave clear just a little bit. But the main purpose of maxing it 2nd for me during this video is just to show off the viability of maxing E 2nd, since it's much less known that you can do it on Lethality Sivir. But it is definitely an option because the cooldown of E goes to really low. And on a build where you're stacking a lot of CDR, it ends up being crazy low. And you can just be very safe throughout the rest of the game. While you're just constantly poking away at the enemies and countering all of their attempted engages on you. The amount of mana restored from your spell shield also goes up with rank. So you won't be struggling at all with mana throughout the rest of the game if you max your E. So long as you have abilities to block, you will never have to worry about mana for the rest of the game. Sivir's ultimate massively speeds up her and her allies over the course of 8 seconds, but it does decay over the course of 2 to 4 seconds, depending on the rank of your ability. So you won't stay at full speed throughout the entire ultimate, but you will be, massively speeding up your team throughout that entire duration overall. It's a really good utility ultimate that makes it very easy for your team to just all be on the same page. The moment you press that ultimate, when one of your teammates are engaging, your entire team knows, okay, this is when we go in, and you will be very effective at that. And you can, of course, use it more defensively, so you can use it just to run away, for example, if you need to. Ideally, you would rather use it aggressively, but it just depends on what the situation calls for. It does make you a very safe champion, so as you can see, I just popped the ultimate here, and I'm just very easily able to get away. Turning on to Renata here, because I'm just so safe at this point. I've already got away from the enemies. I can just afford to quickly trade against her and massively chunk her out there while she doesn't do much to me. And now we'll just have to play just a little bit safer now that we don't have that ultimate available, but should be okay. The other thing about your ultimate is that it passively gives you a certain amount of attack speed whenever you have your W active. So while you're throwing out those 3 boomerangs as part of your W, those 3 empowered auto attacks, you're going to shoot them out just a little bit faster, and that'll just slightly increase your DPS throughout the game. It's very nice, so not only do you get the auto attack reset, but you also get increased attack speed for those 3 autos. So after level 6, your W becomes a massively better ability, and it becomes more worthwhile to actually cast that. So it does come with a really big mana cost at 75 per cast, despite not doing too much to a single target. So with the attack speed, it becomes a lot more worthwhile to actually use that. So as you can see, we're just destroying the enemy bot lane here. They don't have any way to engage onto us, and they don't have the range to match us either. Jinx may have a lot more auto attack range than I do as Sivir. Sivir having 500 range, among the lowest of any AD carry. But she just can't match my Q range at all. Except with her W, but that, that's easy to dodge. And, if I want to block that with Spell Shield for mana, that's also very easy. And as you can see here, when the enemy bot lane is under turret, that's pretty much when I'm at my most dangerous, because they just have no escape. They have to walk up within a certain range to lost hit the minions, and that just puts them very much at risk of getting hit by my Q. And this is what makes Sivir so deadly with those mage supports, because they can just so easily shove an enemy bot lane under turret. Unfortunately, my recall got a little bit fucked here because unfortunately Karma backed off instead of trying to help me make sure that Renata can't freeze. Otherwise, we might have actually just straight up killed Renata there. And my recoil gets cancelled again, which is pretty unfortunate. I don't have the mana to shove here, so we're just gonna have to leave this here. But at the very least, we managed to prevent the freeze. Okay, so this is a really huge back for me. Able to grab the Mana Moon and the Serrated Dirk all in one back. So that's gonna be a huge damage spike for me once I get into the lane here. As you can see, I've been going through minions and only hitting her once. That Q deals a massive amount of damage to the Jinx. If we're lucky, Renata won't notice. Yep. Doesn't quite notice us walking up there. Or doesn't realize she can be killed. Maybe doesn't think that we have vision, but gonna be able to pick up a really easy kill there. And as you can see, the wave clear now with the Q is just absolutely massive. You don't even need to cast W for wave clear at this stage. What I will do though is use it as an auto attack reset on the turret so we can push that faster. Especially with the attack speed that we get now at level 6. Definitely speeds that up. I guess Jinx just did Grump because she's full HP and didn't come from base. But as you can see, massive Q poke now. Chunked to like 40% HP just off of one Q when she gets hit by both sides. So our laning phase is absolutely impressive right now. So here we have the choice of taking the turret sooner if we want higher tempo, or if we want to deny farm, we can just let the turret kill all our minions before we finish off the turret. Higher tempo means that we can basically choose to rotate, you know, well, get this turret faster and back faster and rotate somewhere across the map faster and make a play faster. So for example, our Sion just died on top lane, right? If we had more tempo, if we had taken this turret like 30 seconds sooner, then we would have been top lane in time to prevent that Sion's death, right? That's the advantage of having tempo. But since it's not guaranteed that we'll gain an advantage from that tempo, I would rather just deny a bunch of farm from Jinx there and just slow down taking the turret. Especially because the wave we could deny from Jinx was pretty massive. However, another advantage of that extra tempo from taking the turret faster is that you spend less time vulnerable to a gank. So Karma ends up falling there because we stay a little bit longer, and that's enough for her to get ganked and die. I don't really have the tools to be properly defending this turret. If I walk to the back of the Herald to hit the eye, I'm just going to die to Graves and Renata. So I'm just going to play this really safe and just poke away at the Herald while I think it's safe. However, as Graves backs off here, it's going to be really easy for me to take that. And that's going to be a Renata death. And we should be able to pretty easily shove out this wave. There might be something going on at the Drake, but we want to shove this out first. Especially because we're not too much good in a fight right now. With low HP, low mana. But we can rotate over now that the wave is taken care of. So you want to make sure you're constantly comboing your Q with your ally CC as much as possible. As you can see that as Lux hits her Q there, I can just follow that up with a quick Q from myself, and that just deals really free like 500 damage onto Sona. Massively choking her out and ensuring her death. So as we back here, we get the Duskblade. Your choices for Mythic on Sivir, you can honestly get like any of the 3 of the Lethality Mythic choices. Duskblade gives you more CDR. Eclipse gives you not quite more damage, but definitely a lot of damage combined with some survivability. It will deal more damage than Duskblade at least in terms of burst. And Prowler's Claw is quite aggressive, and like the active doesn't make any sense on Sivir whatsoever. However, the Mythic passive gives it way more lethality than any of the other choices. So if you just in terms of how much damage your Q will deal the most damage if you were to go Prowlers, and it also gives you some CDR, unlike Eclipse, so you can get some like quote-unquote DPS from that as well. Ultimately, most people opt for Duskblade on Sivir because, you know, we're going to be entirely dependent on her Q for almost everything, not just for poke, but also for DPS. The Q cooldown does get pretty low if you itemize enough CDR. So the objective is to get a bunch of CDR and just be able to do some DPS with just that Q. So as you can see here, using my Q to kill this red buff, and it just doesn't take too long. If we were to go Eclipse, we could do certainly a lot of damage to a single target by proccing Eclipse on them with just one Q. But we wouldn't have too much DPS in situations where we need to use multiple Qs. So So as we start brushing this turret, just going to be throwing on my Q to both try and wave clear a little bit, but also try and see if I can just choose some poke as well. Okay, as Sona gets slowed by the Karma Q, that's just a free Q. And it doesn't just have to be like a snare or a stun or whatever. Even if they're just slowed, that already makes your Q much easier to hit. And you should definitely look to follow up any hard slows, at least, with a Q. One thing worth noting, you don't want to use your W to take towers faster if there are enemies nearby that the W would bounce onto and give you tower aggro. If the turret aggro would prevent you from hitting the turret because you have to back off, then it wouldn't help you take it faster, and so there's no point in it. So you'd only do that if you want to hit the W poke on the champion. If you're just trying to rush the turret down, and there's an enemy champion nearby, you know, be careful. Alright, can bait out the Sun ult here maybe. Oh crap, I failed the spell shield. Alright, at least I lived there. Okay, but that's probably gonna be me that didn't have spell shield ready for that. Zoe, my bad. Anyway, as we respawn here, gonna grab the Lost Whisper and the Ionian Boots of Lucidity. You basically always want to go Ionians if you're going for the CDR focus on the Sivir build. You can also use Boots of Swiftness, however, the vast majority of people prefer Ionians. They're just more fun. You know, they give you more DPS, more poke. Just feels better with this Sivir playstyle. Also gonna be grabbing Lost Whisper. They don't necessarily have too much armor right now, but we want to go with the Cyrilda's Grudge, third item, because it's gonna be huge, having that slow permanently on your Q. And as far as components go, the Lost Whisper is the best component. It's just going to give you a ton of damage compared to Caulfield's hammer. So as you can see, the enemies need to be very afraid of me here. Also of the sound, I guess, but mainly of me. Okay, this might be a little bit aggressive, but we'll see what we can do to help. Boom, 800 damage to Renata there, crazy. Okay, seems like there's a bit of a Drake fight. Gonna go try and follow up here. So if this time I can actually bait out the Sun ult correctly. Okay, that time I didn't have the spell shield yet. Ah, shit, exhaust. Ah, god damn it. Why does every Jinx these days run exhaust? I swear to god. Like, so many times recently I've been cheesed by a Jinx having to exhaust and 1v1ing me when I wasn't expecting to like lose the fight. Oh well, my bad. Oh my god. Alright, nice. Alright, so as we respawn here, gonna be heading over to the red buff. Usually we'd shove a mid wave first, but at the moment, since we just took that mid lane inhib, you know, there's not gonna be any waves to farm there, so we're just gonna head straight to the camps. Okay, I'm actually gonna angle my Q in a way where we hit the red and the raptors. Okay, I fucked it up. That's fine. Still gonna use it to take the raptors though. Now that we don't have really mid lane as a viable source of income anymore, we need to try and make up for that through camps as we rotate to other lanes or to Baron to try and make use of the advantage we gained through the inhibs. Also gonna try and steal the enemy camps as much as possible. It's definitely a lot better than taking your own jungler's camps, like going for at least topside camps right now. Nice. That's not only keeping up my farm, but also denying farm from the enemies. So that's a massive way of extending your lead once you're ahead. Just gonna quickly shove out as many minions as I can there, since the wave happens to be nearby. Doesn't cost me too much to go for that. Massive damage on the graves. So here, we're just gonna chase him with auto attacks. This is one of those situations I mentioned where, you know, you could throw Q, but then if he flashes, then that's it. Just gonna chase him with auto attacks instead until I can't auto attack him anymore. That's when I would throw out Q. So that's either if I somehow run out of range, or if he dashes away, or if he flashes away, that's when you would want to throw out the Q. Okay, just gonna use the ultimate here to try and chase down the Zoe. Yeah, there as I ran out of range for the auto attacks, that's when I throw out the Q. Either way, it didn't matter. She flashed it either way, but I wouldn't have been able to auto attack her anymore after that anyway. And looks like we're just gonna be able to end the game here. As you can see, my Q is dealing crazy damage right now. It's a shame we didn't get to finish this Cyrilda's Grudge so you can see the funny effect it has once you finish Cyrilda's, and you get the slow on her as well. It's pretty nice. But anyway, that's going to be it for my Season 12 Lethality Sivir guide. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Make sure to like and subscribe if you want to see more content like this in the future, guys. And I'll see you guys on the next video. Later, gamers.